Internets, welcome to what are we doing tonight, Jason?
Billiards Spotlight, baby. Billiards Spotlight.
I just wanted to
There
see
you
if you'd
go.
say
What's
it
up?
right.
Yeah, what's up? Yeah, he's trying to throw me off there. What's up, Pool Player Nation? Welcome to, like Steve said, another edition of the Billiards Spotlight. I'm your host, Jason Bowman. I'm joined, as always, by my man with the plan at the controls of the mothership here, Mr. Steve Alejandro. Hey,
Hello,
Steve,
hello.
guess what? Tonight, man, we got another big show. Not only do we have our first guest joining us from overseas, in this case, Great Britain, but it's also the first time we've had a member of Team Europe invade the show.
Invade.
Of course,
I
I'm
like
talking
the
about
choice of words
tonight's
there.
Tonight's guest, four-time Mosconi Cup champion with Team Europe, and now the newly appointed vice captain, Mr. Karl Boys. Karl, what's up, pal? Good to see you.
Yeah, and you, pal. How's everyone doing? Glad to be here speaking to you at 1 a.m. UK time, pal. Cheers for that.
Yeah, Karl. As Karl pointed out, he's our first overseas guest. 1 a.m. there back in Blackpool for Karl. So we're glad you stayed up late. We really appreciate it. And it's good to see you, man. Like, so tell me just tell us, how are you? Where are you? And we got the pandemic, man. Like, how are you living through the pandemic? What's life like in Blackpool over there in England?
Blackpool's seaside, so it's on the coast. It's a party town, so in the summer, all the drunks, congregate to Blackpool. I think that's why I live here, to be fair. So, it's been hit pretty hard this summer for sure. I don't think the bars and stuff are going to be open.
Where are you?
But I sort of won't lie. I mean, I know obviously this COVID-19 is, horrific and, it's affecting a lot of people, but I've sort of enjoyed it, man. I won't lie. I mean, not the COVID side of it. I mean,
Obviously,
the
yeah.
isolation.
No, I know what you're saying.
The isolation, because it's given me time to sort of, do all them jobs around the house that you just never get to do. So my house is looking pretty good, and I've started to play a bit of darts, so I'm enjoying that. I'm playing a lot of online stuff with that, and just spending time with the kids really. And I'm lucky because where I live, the ocean's like 20 seconds walk, so I can just go on there and I'd say go for a run, but that's not really been happening. So more of a walk.
Well, at least you're honest.
Yeah. So
at least you're honest.
I mean, yeah. So all in all, we're doing, we're doing good, to be fair. And as I said, there's worse people, in worse positions than I'm sure all of us three sat here. So
Yeah, well, it's interesting though. So, and we talked a little bit yesterday, but just for the audience's sake, I'm curious. Tell us a little bit about what life is like over there right now in Blackpool. I mean, here in the States, it's very different based on where you are. Some of us are opening back up. Some of us, like in New York City, are still very locked down. So, are you guys like we call it stay-at-home orders here? I don't know what you call it there, but you guys kind of locked down still?
Yeah, we're locked down, but it's not. It's not a ruthless lockdown in the sense of, you're going to jail and stuff, but they've kind of asked us to use your common sense, which I don't think there's much of that in England, to be fair. But, you're supposed to be allowed to go out for an hour's exercise. But on Monday just gone, they've kind of let you go out and exercise longer than that. But, I mean, who exercises longer than an hour anyway, right? You know what I mean? So, and then yesterday they've opened up the golf courses, but there's a lot of rules and restrictions. But I think the main thing is restaurants, bars, clubs, gyms. None of them are opening up, so we're going to be a few weeks off that. But to be honest, that when all this kicked off and it was happening, I was following it on the news and stuff. But the last sort of week, just everything seems to be repeating a bit, and I don't know. I've kind of just got on with it, and I'm in my own little bubble. To be honest.
Yeah, I think in a way that's how kind of all of us have gotten through this thing. But I got to ask, man, the British love their pubs. So with the pubs closed, I mean, what's going on there? I mean, how are we getting our drinking and our wrestling fix on?
Vodka orange in a bottle. No.
Nice.
No, I'm only joking. No, yeah, to be fair, my local pub's literally two or three streets away, like a minute walk, and there's a big beer garden there, and a lot of my friends, we congregate there in the summer and have a good time. And obviously we're not being able to do that, but I just think obviously there's a lot of it's very serious thing what's going on at the end of the day. So I just think you just got to get on with it. I mean, you can't go for a pint, but so what? Just get drunk at home.
Well, we're glad we're glad you decided to, and it's always good. I found this is the sixth episode we've done this, Steve, of Billiards Spotlight, And it's just good to see people's faces and know that, we're all
Everyone's
kind of going
okay.
through the same thing, but while we can't, hang together, we can still see each other. Thank God for technology right now. I mean, that has made this much more bearable, I believe. So, before we're going to talk, I like that sign you got there, by the way. I can't help but notice that sweet Mosconi Cup sign over your shoulder. I got to ask, when is that? What year is that from? I know you've been on 4 teams.
Yeah, I've not purposely stuck that up just for tonight. That's that was the Blackpool. Let me just see the signature. Yeah, 21. That was Blackpool. Funnily enough, it's just stuck there. That was 2014. Yeah, 2014. That was the
Now,
Blackpool.
Is that something that
Matchroom
gives you when you win, or you just kind of yank it off the wall? How's that go?
Well, what it was is Emily's got a little bit tight over the years, so none of this exists.
You're talking about Emily Fraser, COO of Matchroom Sports, who runs the Mosconi Cup.
Yeah, back in the day, these was dotted around the arena. If you look at the video footage on YouTube, you'll see it. And whoever was about to pot the winning 9, you'd just see all the lads jump over and start ripping the stuff off. So I've got a few. I kind of like this type of stuff, to be honest, as opposed to like the tin pot. Do you call them tin pot trophies in America? If they give you like a tin pot trophy, I sort of don't really like them. But stuff like this, I just find it to be. Well, it's unique, isn't it? There's only I think there's 2 of them. I don't know who's got the other one from the other side of the arena, but I got that one.
But anyway. Somebody does.
Somebody's got it. And underneath are the 4 medals. So you get a little medal like that. It's not real gold. It's probably worth about 50p.
So we're gonna talk a lot about the Mosconi Cup tonight. Before we dive into the Mosconi Cup talk, I want to plug one of your sponsors that we were talking about before the show. This Salato apps. Am I saying that right? Salato. You tell me about it.
Yeah, Salato. Yeah, it's it's an app. It's guys from America who I met them at the Mosconi Cup. Really, really cool guys. Love the pool and very on the button with the social media and things like that, which we spoke about just before. And they've developed an app where it's gonna be like a billiard community online, so you can just download the app. It's live already in America, and you can link up your Fargo rate and everything like that. And they're about to launch a couple of games on there where you can win cash prizes and things like that. So it's a new thing, but just download it and keep following it. And, they've got big things to come. They wanted to use my voice. They said they like the British accent. So
there you go. They got a heck of a spokesperson in Box Office Boise there. So do you like I got to know, do you like the nickname Box Office Boys, or do you go with the Bad Boys? I know I heard I was at the Mosconi Cup in Vegas when they cranked up the Bad Boys song from the show Cops, and here comes Karl marching. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was pretty funny, wasn't it? Yeah, but no, the Box Office actually come from Chris Mellon. He kind of just made that one up. But it used to be my nickname. Well, I'm saying it used to be. It didn't really. But when we played the World 9-Ball Championships in Philippines, when we was walking through the shopping malls, the Filipino women, they were saying, "Oh, guapo, guapo," and it means handsome. So that kind of stuck. But as I've got a bit older and a bit fatter, that seems to have drifted off a little bit, and Box Office took over.
All right, we'll stick with Box Office Boys. That rolls off the tongue well. I like that one.
Yeah, you're not feeling the guapo, are you?
No. I'm gonna stay away from not only will I butcher that word, but it would have some really weird interactions between us if I start telling you how handsome you are. So, all right. So let's talk some Mosconi Cup. So you've won 4 Mosconi Cup titles with Team Europe. So if you would, tell us a little bit about how you first got introduced to the sport of pool. How'd you pick up a pool cue, and really just kind of walk us through your early evolution as a pool player.
I will do, but just a quick one. I had to laugh at this because obviously I knew who was doing this. I've prepped a few little things and I've wrote me questions down because I'm ever the professional. And then I was looking, I thought, 13, 14, 15. I didn't realise I played 3 on the spin.
Yeah,
that's how bad my memory is. I'm one of these type of dudes who I sort of don't look back. I just live for the day and, moving forward type thing. I'm thinking, oh, all right, yeah, I thought I played 2 in a row, but it was 3 anyway.
Yeah.
So it all started when I was about 14, 15. Yeah, 14. I lived in a place called Radcliffe, Manchester. And I went into a pub, actually, because the landlord's son, so the owner of the pub, his son played golf and I played junior golf. and I was waiting for him to come down the stairs basically, and there was a pool table, but like an English 8-ball table, so not a table you guys are familiar with. It's the same size as a bar box table, but it's got like the rounded pockets like a snooker table.
Okay.
I've just seen the picture you've put up there. I look thin there. I better get running tomorrow. Crikey,
you, man.
Take that picture off quick. Yeah. So I potted a few of the balls, and this guy at the bar spotted me and said, "Oh yeah, you look like you've got an eye for the ball." And this guy was called Graham. So that's how it all started. I started playing in their team, and then one thing led to another, and then I just sort of progressed through the ranks. And then remember the IPT in 2005, 2006.
Kevin Trudeau and the International Pool.
Yeah, that's how I got into basically coming to America and trying to qualify, because it was 8-ball, and the likes of myself, Chris Mellon, Jason Shaw, and Darren Appleton all grew up playing English 8-ball. So I kind of just fell into it. Really, it wasn't really a case of, it was. I didn't love 9-ball. I didn't really know much about it. Do you know what I mean? I mean, when I played English 8-ball, I used to watch the Mosconi on TV, and we'd watch the World 9-ball Championships. It was on in Cardiff live on Sky Sports. That was always a great event. Like when I remember the thing that sticks out in my mind is when Pagalayan won. And I wasn't, I didn't play 9-ball or anything. I didn't know any 9-ball players. I remember Pagalayan won the World 9-ball Championships, but he'd lost the year before in the final. Them type of moments, I used to just watch it on TV like I'd watch a darts or a golf tournament. You know what I mean? So it was quite funny, really, when fast forwarding, all of a sudden I was like in the Mosconi Cup. It sort of just happened, just a mad thing that didn't even plan it. It just sort of happened, really.
So it's like you laid down for a nap and you woke up in Alexandra Palace ready to play against Shane Van Boning or something, huh?
Yeah, it was just a crazy sort of. It just all sort of happened, really, and life passes you by quick, doesn't it? And it's.
So are you saying there wasn't really like a moment in time when you realized that like professional pool was going to be a career for you? You just kind of were doing, and then suddenly you're doing this thing that's kind of a big thing, and you're like, wow, I guess I'm here.
Yeah, I think the main thing was it was more job avoidance. I was just avoiding getting a job. And then, obviously, to be fair, if you put yourself out there, if you look at like Joshua Filler, who's been in America for the last 2 months,
yeah,
and Fedor Gorst and these young lads, they show a bit of promise, and you win something big, whether it's a junior event or, you show promise, and then you sort of just go for it there. But there's been many a great pool player. There's a kid from England called, I say kid, he's probably about 30 now, but he when Jason Shaw sort of started coming through the ranks a little bit, a guy called Phil Burford. I'm not sure if you'll know the name or not, Jason. I don't know, but he was a great player. He was as good as Jason at the same time. But in order to kind of decide you're going to play pool for a living, you've got to be a little bit crazy, I think, and not really want a proper job. As daft as it sounds,
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, we don't have like a glamorous tour that you can try and qualify for, and you can't say, it'd be nice to say, like the IPT. It'd be nice if there was one tour that we all played on, and we said, oh yeah, I'm part of the IPT. I'm an IPT professional pool player, but because that doesn't exist, you kind of just go from tournament to tournament, and you kind of winging it in a way, but. If you reach the top, you can earn money, and you've got to be sensible at the end of the day. And pool's getting better. Matchroom are involved now, and there's that's what we need. But I'm sure we'll talk about them a little later on in the interview.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to have a conversation about pro pool these days without mentioning Matchroom. I mean, they've obviously got the U.S. Open now. They've had the great events that they've had over the years. Mosconi Cup being one of those, and they just acquired the World Championship as well. So they're really getting the premier events kind of under their belt, which is great for professional pool, no doubt about it. With the type of productions they put on, that's a good thing for pool. Steve, what are you laughing about, buddy?
Somebody's slating me out.
No. Laughing
at the comments, I could tell.
A buddy of mine, Ryan Panhorst, who runs our St. Louis League area, I'm not really known to be a serious person, but I'm paying attention to your story, so I have a serious face on, so he's calling me out on that. But I will say Steve Cerna says you've never lost a cup. And then Cody Majors said a while back, I don't remember which team he was talking about because we talked about a few, but he said that team was so strong. So You're getting nothing but love
Yeah.
in the chat, brother.
So let's talk a little bit about the team. So 2010, right? Your first time you're named to the Mosconi Cup team, Team Europe. You also a member of teams in 2013, 14, and 15. But initially, 2010, your selection kind of brought about some criticism from skeptics about whether or not you were a worthy selection. And I think this happens. I feel like this happens about every year with the Mosconi Cup now. Like we saw it a couple years ago with Tyler Steyer. When he was picked for the team that went into Alexander Palace and won with Team USA. I mean, nobody knew who he was in the States, and everybody's like, that's the guy. But then he comes up huge in the event. So I'm curious, tell us a little bit about that first selection to Team Europe and if that's kind of how you felt about it.
Well, it wasn't a case of selection. What it was is in 20, like now they have the rankings in the top 3 who qualify.
Yeah, so you qualified.
Make the team.
Okay.
In 2010 there was only one spot up for grabs, and it was the guy who finished number 1 on the Euro Tour, and I finished number 1 on the after the cutoff. So only one guy qualified outright, and I was that guy. But I suppose to people in America and 9-ball, I probably wouldn't have been known, if you like, even though I played the IPT and I had some good results and, did well on the IPT. But I think pool players in America who don't travel, Shane travels a lot,
Right.
they don't really know the players. Some people, in a pool room in America, no one will have a clue who I am, which is fine. I get it. But even though, because if you don't follow the Mosconi or anything like that, and you just follow, let's say, the Derby City Classic, I've only ever been there once. So I'm, or if you don't do damage in America, you've got to be a real hardcore pool fan to properly follow it.
Sure.
So, but
Makes
I think
sense.
in 2010, what it was is, I think on the first day you play the team event, and then I think I played doubles with Darren, if I remember, and we won the point, but I missed a 9-ball along the back rail, and I remember Dennis Hatch. He stood up and he shouted, "We found the weakest link," or something like that. He shouted. So that made headlines throughout the sort of Mosconi, and the reporters were writing about it. But it turned out that, well, I ended up only losing 1 point in that my first cup, and he ended up messing up. Have you seen the one where he's playing Darren, and I think it was Hill, and he hooks himself on the 7-ball, no, on the 8-ball. He's got like the 7 over the pocket, the 8-ball's over. It's like easy, and he hooks himself behind the 9. So the reality was he turned out to be the weakest link, not me.
Well, hopefully he's not tuning in, because you might be in trouble after that one.
Nah, he'll be all right.
So despite the fact you were kind of like, there was some skeptics, I mean, all you've managed to do in the Mosconi Cup is win. I think you got like one of the highest win percentages ever in the event. So, I mean, do you feel like if there were critics that you kind of, made them zip their lip, I mean, you feel like you kind of silenced them pretty well just by your performance? Was it motivation?
To be honest, I don't ever feel like. I think the one year where maybe you're slightly getting mixed up with was when it was 2014, 2013. It was when it was the
Legends. Okay.
Yeah, the Legend.
Okay, yeah.
It was supposed to be the Legends, and at last minute they changed it to Legends and Champions. And I'd won the World 8-Ball Championships in Dubai that year, which was a WPA event. They used to have that, that event. And I think they changed it last minute, and they kind of just snuck me in. And I think for the whole world as pool fans, they probably thought, why is this young lad in the team? I don't get it, because you had people like Torsten and whoever else, I can't remember. But you had big like European names, of pool basically, and they'd stuck me in. But they obviously wanted someone good looking, right? Are you going to put in Torsten or me?
I tell you what, though, you're probably right. I probably am thinking of 2013. That was actually my first Mosconi Cup, because it was in Las Vegas. First time I'd ever been to the event. Obviously, I had known about it. I've been in the pool industry for so long, but just never really had a chance to check it out. And man, you guys took it to that Team USA. I mean, that was a destruction. You guys destroyed the team that year. I think it was like 11-2 or 3. I mean, it was ugly.
Yeah, it was 11-2 with 2 days to spare as well. So we had 2 nights partying in Vegas. But that was when Earl. It was Earl, Johnny, Rodney. the team, it was a quality team, proper legends of like American nine ball. And yeah, that I mean, it was. I don't know. I just think the Mosconi, that was probably the only year where people were saying, "What's he doing in it?" And I could see that, but what people don't realise is there was not a ranking system that year because it was the 20th edition. If there was a ranking system that year, I'd have qualified because I had a really good season in a lot of important events. So, but whatever. I went there, I played good, but I always feel like I was always going to play good in that type of event because I think I'm a good team player. I've not got a big ego. I'm very jokey and I like to take the mickey out of people. Do you take the mickey? Do you say that in America?
No, we don't say that.
What do you
Mickey's a
say?
little mouse, man. What do you even know?
Yeah, it's a mouse here as well.
I'm taking
but...
it to mean kind of like ribbing somebody or giving them a
ribbing.
we might call it breaking
ribbing.
balls.
I'm not making fun. I'm totally going to start
right.
saying that. 100%. I'm going to start saying that.
Yeah, so I'm like playing pranks or just joking, putting the music
keeping
up,
it light.
and,
sure.
Yeah, keeping it light and just everyone's relaxed and just just been that type of guy really in the team. And and also I prefer to play on the one table setup where the cameras are, because I feel like that's where you've got to really bring it. And playing in a pool hall with 15 tables, nobody watching, I could lose to you, Jason, to be fair.
Yeah. You haven't actually seen me play, but I don't know if that would be possible. They have to have a pretty good handicap match. But anyway, I'm curious. So like you mentioned this too, you like to play on the one table, the prime table. You seem to have played, the energy that comes with playing in the Mosconi Cup. Maybe you could talk a little bit about it, but you seem to be a player that really embraces that pressure. You seem to have really shined almost under the Mosconi Spotlight, which is the premier event. So just two questions there. One is, what is it like to compete in that environment? And two, how do you embrace or kind of handle that, that situation?
Yeah, it's tough because first and foremost, as a pool player, no matter what tournament you've played in, unless it's a matchroom event where like you said before, you alluded on the fact that the production, they're all about production and making it a big spectacle, and that brings its own kind of pressure. So even if you've done well in Euro tours or even the Derby City or whatever, any of these type of events, nothing's going to really prepare you for the Mosconi Cup. And I remember in York Hall in 2010, it's like an old sort of venue that's been around for years, and they've had like boxing matches there, famous boxing matches, and it's a low ceiling, so it's even there could be 300 people in there, which I think the crowd was only 300 or 400 people. But I remember it just being so loud and daunting because it's low ceiling, small room, and it's like everyone's on you. And I just think, I suppose when it's all said and done, you sort of reach a certain level and you work on your cue action and you develop your own little system in a way, and that stands you in good stead for it. But I've seen many, somebody like Mike Deshane from America. He's a great player. If you drew him in a tournament in the second or third round somewhere, it's a tough match. He can play, but we've seen what the pressure's done to him. Kazakis has not had the best of times in the Mosconi Cup, and he does well in all the singles events. He's always there. Do you know what I mean? He's always at the depth, beating everybody up, plays great, but. I kind of think you need to get off to a good start, really, and just get that first point on the board, because it's such an unusual environment. Especially you're playing in a team as well. You're used to playing singles events, so it's just got a whole different added pressure. But it's good. I think I could literally just. I think I could play in the team this year and have a month's practice and just play like I have in the others, not play like Earl, but not play like you. Just get by type thing. I truly believe that.
So do you feel like you've been able to, because I think you kind of said this, do you feel like you were able to draw on like your early success playing in the event and knowing how well you can do? I mean, does that just drive your confidence higher and higher and higher each time you come out of into the pit?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's all about experience, isn't it? And it's like, let's say if you've been to finals of events and you keep losing or making a mess of it, it's always on your mind. But you just need to win. The thing with the Mosconi is you've got that first point where it's a team, and it's like the worst feeling in the world because everybody sat there, the full team. I'd rather play singles on my own first because at least you're sat there, so you've got all the crowd, but you've got all the other lads sat there, and you want to play well. You don't want to make a hash of anything. And I just think if you can get that little point on the board, it just sort of sets you up, really, or a doubles win, anything like that.
Yeah. So we mentioned the four Mosconi Cup titles. We pulled a picture of each of your Mosconi Cup winning teams. Mm-hmm. So what I want to do is with each team, if you could, just one memory from each team, like what you might remember most. So 2010, your very first cup. I think Steve's got the wrong picture. I think they had black shirts in that first picture there.
Let's have a look. Let's get.
I don't think I got that one, guys. I'm sorry.
Oh, it doesn't have that one.
I don't think I did. Let me see. I may have messed up. Let me pull it up. Let me pull up your notes.
I thought they had black shirts that year for some reason. What do you remember from that 2000 team, though, Karl? Like, your first time on the Mosconi Cup. What's one memory that really stands out from that first experience with that group of guys?
I just remember how intense it all was, and just such a weird feeling and so unique. Going down to London and looking back now, if you looked at the crowd, you'd probably think, oh, it looks a relatively small crowd. But I just remember thinking, wow, this is just so loud. And it actually felt louder than some of the Mosconi Cups now. But, that's probably just the room. But I kind of, just the whole thing, it was such a great week and, such a good experience. And I remember, when Daz won that point against Hatch, and because Hatch had given me a little bit of stick, I was sort of giving him some stick back, and I played another doubles match, and I think I did something in the match, something quite important. I remember looking at him, giving him the stare. It was just something like that. Really, it was just such a good week, really.
Dennis Hatch is a tough guy to stare down. He's not one that you want to, run into in a dark alley. So you're picking on the biggest guy on the team there, Karl.
Be all right with a few lagers down me, pal. Don't worry about it.
I love it.
There's that one.
There it is. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I can't make it any bigger than that right now, but there's the photo.
That's what I remember.
You got, and look.
No, I remember Nick Vandenberg had hair there.
I was gonna say, look at and look who's behind that team there. Behind Mika Immonen and next to Karl is Mr. Johan Reisink when he was on the other side of the fence there, right? Is that Johan back there?
He's in a couple of these photos.
Yeah, the trainer.
We'll talk a little bit about Johan, but so that's 2010 team. We talked a little bit about 2013, the kind of the Legends year. What do you remember most about that team? I mean, I know it was kind of a blowout, but what's one memory that stands out from that one?
When I played Earl in the singles, because obviously you up until the final day, everyone's got to play a singles event. So obviously I'm thinking, well, you can play anybody. Do you know what I mean? And when I seen the team sheet and I thought, I'm playing Earl, obviously I know his best days were behind him, but he still plays great. But in England, 9 ball's not a big game. Nobody really knows much about it. Because we're sort of way behind the snooker. But Earl Strickland, if somebody did know about American pool, he's the first name. No one had mentioned Efren in England. No one's got a clue. But because of Sky Sports and they've seen Earl playing the World 9-Ball Championships, he's even had, Sky even did a documentary with Earl. It was a great documentary if you've not seen it. You probably have it. It'll be on YouTube, I'm sure. So I just remember, it's a good documentary. Obviously, how Sky, how they produce things. But I just
Sky Sports is like our ESPN. It's like our ESPN.
Right.
And it's worldwide. That's what all the matchroom events are on, right? So.
Yeah, and so I just remember thinking, I'm going to play Earl. It was a race to 6. It is what it is. But it's just something at the time where I thought, well, win or lose, it's just cool to have played him in that arena. Do you know what I mean?
Nice.
But I will.
All right. So that's 2013 in Las Vegas. 2014, and that's where the sign's from behind you. This is your hometown, right? Blackpool, 2014. What was that like to be able to play right there in your hometown? Is that the memory that stands out from that year?
Yeah, that was for me, obviously on a personal level, that was my favourite Mosconi, just because like where I live, I'm less than 2 kilometers away from the venue, and it's like an old. That's basically a tower, and it's been there for like 150 years or something. And where the table is there, they have a circus. So I've took my children there. Every year we go. So it's such an iconic venue. And it was a brilliant venue. Again, it was eerie in there because it was like echoey and it was loud. And but I remember walking out, and I walked out first just because I think I was the local lad. Really, I can't really remember why. I think Johan just said you go out first because the crowd would go mental. One of them.
Yeah.
So it was just such a good week. That we, all the lads were, where I'm sat now. It's a games room in my house, so I had a diamond table and all the lads was here 4 or 5 days before and was practicing in here, and it was just such a good week. Everything, everyone was staying in the hotel. I was sleeping in my bed, and it was like it's a shame it never went back there, really, because it was such a good venue. Really, it really was.
And then the 2015 team. Tell me a little bit about that team. And
great team. That was. Albin, great player, really solid. Obviously, there you see Marcus, played under Marcus once, great guy. A little bit sort of a bit like myself, more happy-go-lucky, completely different contrast to Johan. Nick Vandenberg, another top player from Europe. He doesn't play anymore. He's jacked, and it was great. Another one where I think that in all the Mosconis, I feel like that was the best I played in all of them. I feel like I did, I pulled some of the doubles matches. It was a complete farce I didn't get MVP that year. The MVP, really, because, the MVP goes on points, but certain guys play more matches than the other guys, so it's just stupid. That year, for me, and I think most of the lads will agree, that year, I think I was the best player in Team Europe that year.
Well, that's where I learned the chant "Walking in a Boise Wonderland." It was in Las Vegas, and there's tons of European fans that come over to Las Vegas for the event. And man, they were loving you that year. They were singing because it's right before Christmas, and you're the Walking in a Winter Wonderland, but they were singing it with "Walking in a Boise Wonderland," and I was like, oh man, that's classic. So that was the year that I started singing that song in my head. And ever since then, I can't. It's like one of those. It's like getting a tune in your head that you can't get out.
I've
never heard that song the same.
Jason, I've just remembered the memory from that Mosconi Cup, actually. Flying home from Philadelphia, we had bird strike, flock of geese in the engine. I thought my days were numbered. I thought it was over. Yeah,
that's not how you want to go, bro.
No, we had to emergency
especially when you got to fly over 6 hours of ocean to get back home.
Oh, honestly, it was crazy. That was the year Conor McGregor fought Aldo. I'm certain it was.
Huh.
Yeah, I'm sure Conor McGregor fought Aldo that year.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that was not a pretty memory, but I had some good times in the Mosconi. Looking back there, it sort of feels like yesterday, really, but just goes so quick, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So I should probably point out at this point that so Karl's 4 Mosconi Cup victories came during the nearly decade-long drought cast upon Team USA by the Europeans. And so, Karl, the crazy thing is the past couple years, your role has really changed a little bit as it relates to the Mosconi Cup. You're still involved, but you've transitioned into kind of more of a commentator analyst role. And I'm curious, and I'm sure some of our viewers are as well, like what led to that transition from player to analyst? How did that happen?
Well, after the 2015, I had a few drinks now before though. Look at the state of me. No, but the 2015 Mosconi Cup. After because when you've played in the Mosconi as well, I don't know what the other guys feel like, but it's Christmas, then it's January in England, it's cold, and I always felt really flat. You'd had this big high. Obviously, you'd won some decent money at the Mosconi. You'd play, and then I used to think, what's next here? What's the next decent event? Because I'm not like your traditional, I don't actually love pool like Joshua Filler and these guys. They're like die hard. They absolutely love it. As I said, I just sort of fell into it and it just sort of happened. So I remember thinking in 2016, well, what am I going to do here? What's next? February Euro Tour in Italy. Nobody watching.
Yeah.
That's not my bag. Do you know what I mean? So what I did is I decided to go to the Derby City Classic in 2016 in January, and I arranged a big cash game with Oscar Dominguez just to try and play a long set and just play some pool. So at least I'd feel sharp, because when I'm back home, when I had a table, I wasn't really playing a lot, because coming in here playing on your own, again, it's not easy to do, especially when you feel like you don't want to do it. You're not in love with it. You have to really love it to do that. So I did that, and I went to the derby, and then after the derby, we drove home to Darren's house, and on the drive home, I thought, I know I'm done here, and I know it's over for me. And it's funny because I got to the final of the US Open in 2015, and that's how I qualified third on the rankings for the Mosconi. And as I said before, I feel like I played really well in the Mosconi. So I feel like I was sort of coming of age to a degree within the game, but I just knew I was done. And then I think in April, was it April or May, I was supposed to go to China. And I was sat at the airport. This is a good story. I was sat at the airport on my own. I'm looking out the window, right? And I think I was going, I don't know if I was going for a Chinese 8-ball event or a qualifier for the Chinese 9-ball or something like that. In fact, to tell you what it was, Ian Anderson, the president of the WPA, had got me an invite into the China Open, right? So I'm sat at the airport, right? And I'm looking out the window, and it's absolutely chucking it down, raining. And I'm on my own, and I'm looking at this plane thinking, no. So the very last bit where you hand your boarding pass and then you walk through the tunnel to the plane. I says to the woman, I says, "Oh, can you get my bag off the plane?" She went, "Eh, what? What do you mean?" I says, "Oh, I'm not flying. I'm going to go home." So I delayed the flight for about 45 minutes. Right, got me bag. Two police officers escorted me out of the airport, thinking I'm like mentally deranged, and I just went, "Oh, and that was me done." That's how it finished. That's what I did. And then I think I remembered. I was just done. I just knew I was just done. I'd had enough, because I wasn't prepared to live my life for one tournament a year.
I get that, because I've been to the Mosconi Cup and then gone to the Derby the next month, and you're right. I mean, you go from this ultra high of just competition and audience, and it's everything you wish pool could be year round. And then you go to the Derby, which is a great event. Don't get me wrong. Nothing against the Derby City. It's a great event. A lot of history. Players love to play there. But it's just night and day, and it's so different that I could see how it would be very difficult to go from the high to kind of like the norm, and be like, I don't know if I want to do this the rest of the year just to go back up in December. It'd be tough. I get it.
Yeah, and I think the big thing is when you look at someone like Darren. I'm using Darren and Jason examples because the British, they moved to America, as where I was never going to move to America, because I've got family, girlfriend and everything. Sorry to all the girlfriends around the world for dropping that bombshell. No, I'm just joking.
We just lost half our female audience, Karl. Come on, man.
Oh, he's joking. So
guapo.
So I just think you've got to these guys where they travel, fair play, but they are proper. They've grown up playing this game, and I think that's the big difference. I didn't. I just kind of got into it through the IPT. Sure. So it was never my, I didn't even really practice. The 2015 Mosconi, to be fair, I went there. I never even hit a ball. My girlfriend were laughing, saying, "You're not normal, you." I said, "Well, when we get there, we'll be practicing with lads in pool room. I'll just practice then." But obviously, I wouldn't advise doing that. I'm not saying that. But, when you look at the likes of Jason and, what Darren's done and, Joshua Filler, you see Neil's, the effort they put in and, they win the big events. I never quite, I won the World 8-Ball Championships. I lost in the semis twice of the World 9-Ball, and I lost in the final of the US Open. Probably just deserves, because, you get out what you put in. If I'd put a bit more effort in, I might have the same amount of titles as Shane. Who knows?
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So that's how you kind of drifted out of the player side. How did you end up into the commentary analyst side? Because that's a pretty big role when you're talking about working with Matchroom and doing the work that you're doing.
Yeah, it was the World Cup of Pool. I think it was the one in London, I think. I can't remember which one, but they'd said, "Oh, do you want to go in as a guest commentator?" And so, I'll go in, I'll have a go. So I went in, and Phil Yates, who's a famous commentator. He does snooker, he does golf, he does the pool as well, some of the pool events. I was alongside him, excuse me. And then so after the match, he's turned and said, "Oh yeah, you were brilliant. Then you sort of just understood it because what it is you can't just go in there. I'm not saying it's rocket science being a pundit. I get it, but it's like anything. You've got to understand what's going on. So Phil Yates, he's opening and closing the show. He doesn't really understand shot selection and stuff like that, so he kind of leaves that to the player. But I remember listening to some of the snooker commentary, and I've listened to the likes of Steve Davis and Stephen Henry, and I really like them commentating on snooker because they're not over the top with the game. They don't keep going on about the shots and he should have done this, he should have done that. So I kind of just felt like when I was doing it with Phil, I let him speak, because I didn't really want to speak, even though you're supposed to speak,
Right.
And I thought, well, I don't want to just keep going on about shots and, maybe he should have done this. Because I just think it's, at the end of the day, if people are tuning in watching, how many of them people can really play the game? There won't be a lot, will there?
That's part of the
Right.
problem. You have to know the game to love the game. That's
Yeah,
because I was a relatively new player. It took a good 6 months to a year to just me being around the industry, even just for me to remotely follow what was going on at table.
and if you're, I mean, like for instance, Jeremy Jones, who he's like really into explaining the shots, but I feel like to understand what Jeremy's talking about, you've got to know the game.
Yeah.
So that
It's fair.
I don't want to come across like that. I want to come across a bit more like I want to be quite ruthless and just sort of direct and very few. I don't want to keep harping on and just get to the point and just say it and then go quiet because I feel like that builds up drama as well. Doing it that way. And so I think after that, I think Phil Yates must have said, "Oh yeah, he's good in the box and stuff." And then, when Matchroom had their plans and Emily, they've set a vision to get more events. I think they just needed somebody, so it all kind of just fell right. And so she asked me, to get involved, and it's sort of going okay.
Sweet.
Nice. Well, I'm curious. So with this transition in the role, I mean, you've been with the event the last couple of years as a pundit, as you called it. I'm curious how hard has it been for you as a Team Europe guy to kind of sit back and see now like Team USA kind of turn the tide and come back. I mean, has it been easy because you're not playing, or has it been like hard because you're like Team Europe, Team Europe, Team Europe? Like how does that feel for you?
No, I mean obviously the when America, I went to London when America won the first one, and I went there and I was doing the off the rail that me and Nick Till do after they do a show
Yeah.
once a month.
Right. Yeah.
So I went down there to do that, and obviously you're not nervous because you're not playing, so you just sat watching it, but. Hand on heart, I didn't care who won. I wasn't, I'm not in the team. The lads are
You weren't
trying. They're going to
emotionally
the practice.
invested, yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't. Yeah, I just wasn't. I wasn't bothered. I mean, in some ways, I wanted America to win because I knew how good for the game it would be if America would win. Because
Right.
you want to see a good battle. You don't want to just keep seeing Europe win, do you? It gets boring, right? There's no fun
Right.
in that. So I
Especially when
think
you
the
don't
big
give us a day 3 and a day 4, Karl.
yeah, but I think the big
Yeah.
thing is I think
That's on you, buddy.
I think when they won in London, I think the big one was last year when they won in Vegas. Because what I noticed about America is certainly when I played the two times in Vegas, the crowd last year in Vegas, it was like being in Europe. The Americans
Agreed.
really brought it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was so loud. It was like I've never, I didn't experience it like that in the two times I played there. So I think that was the bigger win of, let's say, the first one for America. And yeah, so I didn't have, even last year in Vegas, I didn't care who win. I just went there to kind of like be unbiased and just speak about, just give my opinion. It's all opinions at the end of the day. So obviously this year will be different though.
It'd be a little
Right, right. And
different.
we're going to get into that, but I just a couple more questions on Team USA because we obviously got a lot of Team USA fans that are tuning into the show. And I'm
Yep.
just curious from the last couple of years, did their massive turnaround surprise you? And like from your perspective, what has made the biggest difference in the last couple of years for Team USA that you've seen?
I think the big thing for me is, well, I think there's a couple of things. I think they've become more professional. So they're more a team, they're more bonded. I remember again Earl just doing his own thing, and you can't really do that. You've got to be as a unit and just do everything for that week, because it's not just when it starts. You meet up, 3-4 a week before. So
Right.
everything's got to be as one. You've got to be a team. You've got to, go play golf, go karting, just do whatever, go eat together. You can't just all just go off and do your own thing and then meet up at the arena. It just ain't going to work. So I think America have become more professional. So Johan has brought that to them. But I think the big thing is, I think the American players, because Shane had all the world, on him. Everyone thought, because Shane was, he was the best player in the world. But you're not just going to win the Mosconi because you've got one great player, the best player, arguably, that's ever played the game, by the time he's finished. So you can't just, he's not going to win every point. He can't win 11 points. And he needs to, even though he's a great player, he's an individual player. That's what he's won all his titles at. And I feel like he needs to believe in the other lads. So if he does have a bit of a nightmare in a singles or a doubles, or even plays a bad shot in the doubles, he now believes Skylar can rescue him, or Billy, or you know what I'm saying.
Sure.
And that's the big thing. Yeah, that's the big thing. I feel like Europe always had. I always feel like when you were on the table, Ralph Suke were following your Niels, that type of thing. So I think them two things are, and obviously confidence now. They've won the last two, so that they're going to be confident.
Yeah, so now that we've built up Team USA, let's talk about your transitioning now. Yet again, first it was player to analyst. Now it's analyst to vice captain, which was announced earlier this year. And, so just tell me a little bit about how that came about, how you've transitioned into this new role as a captain or a coach with Team Europe.
I don't even know. It's
a running theme in your stories here.
No, you just happen to find yourself in situations, Karl, which is good, man. That's good.
He just keeps going, brother.
I'm the best blagger ever. No, in Vegas, obviously, because I was there as a pundit and I'm doing off the rail, I'm now in a position where I can be really vocal, right? So, like, I'm just saying as it is, and I'm backstage saying, "Oh, things are not right here. You can just sense it, or this and that." So I think they just put two and two together. I mean, and also I put up. I was having a bit of fun on social media after the Mosconi, just putting some funny like picture edits up and stuff like, just having a laugh, saying I'll be captain and all this. But Matchroom, they're not stupid people. I mean, putting me as captain straight away could be catastrophic, to be fair. So I think easing me in as vice is a smart move. But the thing is, I just think, as well, America have always had a captain and a vice for the last 2 years.
That's true.
Paul Marcus has been on his own doing it, and it's easy to like misplace stuff. Or I'll probably just be making Alex's cups of coffee. To be fair, I'll be on that vibe, giving him a little massage while he does his team chat and all this. But I think that's what's good though, because I think you need something like that. I'm good at giving massages, so he's gonna love them.
You've definitely got a wealth of experience with the Mosconi Cup. I'm curious, though, what kind of experience do you have as on the coaching side?
Well, I captained the under fives football team at school.
What else do you need to know?
No, I mean, to be honest, Fedor's number one at the minute. We don't know what's going on with the rankings. We've not. We're just waiting to see how this pans out. But you would think he's going to be in the team, but he's never played in the Mosconi. But what is he, like 20 years old? So in my first Mosconi, listen, this is like horrific as well, by the way. In my first Mosconi, he was 10 years old. I mean, what the 10 years old? So, did he even play pool when he was 10? He probably did. Maybe I'm like a bit of a hero of his. I don't know. Maybe he hates me. But what I will bring to it is the fact that the guys know I've been in the arena 4 times. They know I've dealt with the pressure. They know. So it's just nice to have that type of face just to glance at. Do you know what I mean? Because I know what they're feeling. I know how easy it is to make a mess of it out there. And how edgy it's going to be, and I just think it's a calming thing. Do you know what I mean? That's going to be my role.
keep the guys relaxed, keep them focused, and just not make sure the moment doesn't get too big for them. Yeah,
giving him the Mickey or what was it earlier?
Yeah, say the right things, carry the cues, chalk the nib, and all this.
Now I'm curious because you've played for some outstanding coaches. What have you learned from some of the past coaches? You obviously played for Johan, you played for Marcus. What have you learned from these guys that'll help you to be successful? Do you think?
Yeah, the thing with Johan is he's not. Marcus was a player and a top player. He's played in the Mosconi. Very respected player in Europe. Won a lot of stuff and has been to America and done all the gambling thing that you're supposed to do and all that. So you can relate to Marcus, but Johan kind of in pool terms you don't really have coaches, do you? It's not like golf where Tiger Woods might have a coach and he's on $1 million a year or something, living a fantastic life. In pool we don't really have coaches. So certainly for me, I think Johan, when I played under him, I kind of need a coach, because I'm easily led. I'm either like a world champion or an alcoholic down and out. You know what I mean? I'm like so up and down. Do you know what I mean? I don't have middle ground. So for Johan, he always helped me. Do you know what I mean? He said the right things to me. He said, he knew how I would perform best. So he was very much like, even though he didn't play the game and he never played on tour or anything like that, he knew that side of the stuff. So I learned that from him. And, Marcus obviously brought another thing where he was a player and you could relate to him in that way. So they both brought, their own thing and different things. But, I enjoyed playing under both of them. It was a good experience.
Yeah. So now that we've talked a little bit about Johan, we've talked about Marcus Shamat, who is the captain the last several years for Team Europe. So it's not just a new vice captain in Karl. You've got a new boss on the team in team captain Alex. Is it Lally? Am I saying that right?
Lally.
Okay. So Alex Lally, tell us a little bit about Alex and what he brings to the table for Team Europe.
Yeah, Alex, he's been captain before, actually. Did you know that?
I did not know that. I met him in London 2 years ago because he also does commentary. Like he does. I think he was doing the play-by-play maybe.
Yeah, he's there. He is, handsome fella. Yeah. He's not bad on the left as well. No, yeah, Alex. He's played pool in Europe for years. He's won Euro tours. He's won the World Pool Masters before I was born. No, I'm only joking, Alex. He's
probably
before.
asleep right now, so.
No, he'll be watching. Don't worry about that. He'll be texting me. Yeah, he was captain in 28, I think it was. It was 2008 or 2009. He was the captain. Europe lost, but he's learned a lot since then. He's been, he's Alex is one of them types of guys where he doesn't do anything by half. Whatever he does in life, he does it full throttle. He's that type of guy. And he does. He works for Eurosport. He does the snooker commentary. He loves his one pocket. He's got so much knowledge about the game and the players, and he's speaking to a whole group of players before this COVID, thing kicked off. So he's a shrewd dude. You know what I mean? So I'm looking forward to getting stuck in with Alex, and we'll definitely click well together because we're similar types of characters in a way.
Yeah, I had just a couple of minutes to talk to him when we were in London. Not a long time, but he strikes me as a little bit more on the serious side, and you maybe are more on the light side. Is that kind of the yin and yang? You guys going to fit together like a puzzle and guide the team that way?
Yeah, I think so. He's definitely a bit more serious than me, but he's not as serious as like you might think. There's a barrier there, and once you get under it, he's a fun guy. But at the end of the day, we've lost the last two, and they've given us the job, so we've got to try and win. You know what I mean? So even all the fun and the jokes, it's all camaraderie and it's all a bit of fun. But behind the scenes, we're working hard on stuff, and let's just hope there is a Mosconi, by the way.
And I hope so too, brother. I really hope so. So something that was interesting, I saw this quote when you were named Vice. I like to call you Vice. When you were named Vice. This quote came out. You made this quote. You said, the last couple of years, I've seen a few things which we can improve on, meaning Team Europe. I think the doubles needs to be worked on where certain points have been lost because maybe the pairings haven't been quite as right. Certainly last year, Johan worked the schedule well, and Shane Van Boening and Skylar Woodward played more times than, say, Josh Filler and Jason Shaw. Could you just elaborate a little bit about that? Because I do know kind of what you're saying there is Johan really kind of outplayed Marcus in terms of the mental and the matchup game, at least this past year. Is that what you're saying there?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I was there to do a job, so you've got to be ultra critical. And at the end of the day, I just feel like sort of the first year America won. It's a brave move putting two rookies out together in the doubles. Early on, as in Kazakis and Kachi, because it's such a daunting thing. But they're obviously all great players. They're all they're in the team and they've earned the right to be in the team. So it's just a case of you've got to be critical. As I said last year, Johan, Shane and Skylar played more matches because after certain sessions, everybody's got to play within a session. You see.
Right.
So he spotted something in there where they could play more games. But at the end of the day, we've seen it before with Shane. In previous cups, he's not won loads of points, has he? So, it's a team event. But with a few little tweaks there, and obviously, you wouldn't think there's going to be many singles events, this year. So it's looking like, let's say the Mosconi does happen. We're going to have to go on to some form of wild card pick. You think, and from a selfish point of view, I'm happy with that because obviously I'd like to handpick the team, from the get-go, because in my opinion and your opinion might be different on which five you would pick. I'm sure it would be for America, but I like the idea of having guys that have got good experiences in the Mosconi, because when they go there, they're going to think, oh yeah, I remember this, holding the medal and things like that, and that's kind of what we need, I think, now, because we've lost the last two.
Yeah, and you kind of mentioned some of the differences for Team Europe and Team USA the last couple of years. The vice captain, obviously, was one difference, but also the process that you do to get on the team. And whereas Team Europe was qualifying, I think it was maybe even, was it 3 players last year? Was it 2 or 3 players? Yeah. Whereas Team USA is basically captain's pick. Johan was able to pick all 5. And, and so last year, one of the things that we saw with that is, it basically comes down to what? Albin Ocean or Jason Shaw, and Marcus goes with Jason Shaw, of course. I mean, he's, he plays really well in that type of environment. Obviously, He's a great player, but you also basically cannot bring the player who was arguably the MVP for Team Europe the year before, in Albin Ocean. And so, certainly that's a big deal, the way that the teams get picked. And so I'm curious now, because you've mentioned this a couple times. Obviously, the COVID pandemic has changed a lot of things for 2020. Do you anticipate that it'll change kind of that selection process to where you guys will have more freedom to choose? Because obviously everything's kind of, all the best laid plans are out the door now, right? All the qualifying events are disrupted. Do you think you'll be able to have a little more liberty there to choose?
Excuse me. Well, this is the thing. I mean, the thing is, we obviously don't know what's going to happen, do we? Nobody knows what's going to happen with live sport and the crowds and things like that. And the unfortunate thing is, pool's way down the pecking order as well, because if you look at all the other sports that they've got to try and get on TV and what kind of comes first, unfortunately, pool's going to come way down the pecking order. I mean, of course, the Mosconi Cup won't, because that's a big sporting event at the end of the day. Thousands and thousands of people come to watch, and they watch it on TV and everything. But I mean, things like the US Open's obviously that's going to be postponed, isn't it? It's such a big event. Flying to America trying to do that, it just ain't happening, is it? World Pool Masters, you never know. Obviously, it used to be 16 players. It's now 24. Could that be squeezed in? Possibly.
Yeah, that's a hard one, because you got players coming from all over the world.
Just logistically,
you've got Asian countries, and
This is the other thing. So the way it's looking, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to think we're not going to really have any singles events unless there's some kind of breaking news story, there's a vaccine or something like that. So common sense would tell you let's just hope the Mosconi can go ahead at the end of the day, and Matchroom. They're not stupid people. They don't just make decisions on a whim. They have big team meetings in the boardroom, and it will be fair. The rankings will have to be looked at, of course. and what whatever decision they will come to will be 100% the correct decision and the fairest decision. So it's a case of just sitting and waiting, I'm afraid.
Yeah, and do you and Alex, are you guys staying in touch with, some of the players you think will be on the team, or is everybody just kind of going their own way for now? Like, Jason Shaw and some of these guys that you would expect are going to be, if there is a cup that would be on the team. Are you guys still all talking, communicating?
Yeah, Alex is doing a lot because he likes all that one-to-one and he likes speaking about the game and stuff like that, and he can improve them that way and things like that. But the downside with that is not every player's got access to a table, really, because unless you've got one at home or, the guy who owns the club and he's letting you in with a key or something, you might not even be able to play. We're seeing some stuff online where Jason's got a table and I think Fedor's been playing on a table and, obviously Joshua's been in America for the last 8 weeks. But as I said, not everyone's got access to a table. So I just think, we can speculate and put our theories out there of what may happen and what might happen. But I think we've sort of all got to stay alive, haven't we? That's rule number one.
We'll focus on health, but we'll look at it from the glasses half full perspective and hope that come December, we're all cheering out. I can't promise we're going to be cheering for you, Karl. We'll be cheering for you personally.
Yeah, of course.
But I don't know, man. We're kind of Team USA guys. We're kind of Team USA fans here. So
I'm hoping for a great match with the USA win, man. I hope your guys show up. I just hope we beat the snot out of them.
It's going to be tough this year, though. The Europeans, man. We were in Alexander Palace, Steve. I mean, the Europeans, the fans are ruthless, and coming off 2 Team USA wins, man. Whew, they're going to be giving it to Team USA over there. Giving it to them.
It's going to be, let's just fingers crossed everything can, go ahead as normal as possible. And, it's going to be a great week, fun week.
We have to run some sort of APA contest or something to get some better USA jingles or songs or something. Like Boise and Wonderland.
Like
you got
the
Jason Shaw. Jason Shaw. You got all these things. Like America.
Oh, you got it down there.
Oh, Joshua Filler. Yeah, they got all the songs, man. Team USA fans, you need to come up with some.
We got to get it done.
We need some better songs. All right, so we just passed the 2:00 hour back in Great Britain. It's 2 a.m. there, so we're gonna let Karl go here momentarily. But before we let him go, Karl, we got a little tradition here so Billiards Spotlight was born in the COVID era, and so part of the Billiards Spotlight with each of our guests, we do a little game called Quarantine Trivia. So are you up for a little game of Quarantine Trivia before we let you run?
Of course.
All right, so let's hit it, Steve. Let's bust out the quarantine trivia. This is where we get the real answers that you folks have been waiting for.
Deal.
Let's go.
All right.
Question number 1, Steve. Give it to him.
If you could only eat one thing during quarantine, what would it be and why?
If I could only eat one thing in quarantine, well, that's a funny question actually because I've been vegan for the last 4 months.
Wow.
Yeah, I just decided to, I just woke up and decided to try it, and here I am 4 months later, still going.
So you're picking carrot or a cucumber? Which one?
No, to be honest, it's not as ruthless as that. People think it is, but I don't know, I'm on this vibe of I like sour toast with fried mushrooms and avocado. I'm on that vibe at the minute, so that'd be my meal.
That sounds pretty good, actually.
Good, yeah.
Sour toast with mushrooms. Oh, yeah, box office boys is eating sour toast with mushrooms.
Follow me on Instagram. I'm posting all these vegan meals. Don't worry about it. Get me at Cowboys.
You're gonna have to.
There you go. You got to follow Karl on Instagram.
You're gonna have to make a book like Mike Pinozzo and his Quarantini cocktail book. I don't know if you've seen that.
Quarantini hour, yeah. Quarantini cocktail hour.
I dig it. All right, question
so next
2.
question. Number 1 is sour toast with mushrooms. What's question number 2, Steve?
If you could only watch one TV show, what would it be and why?
Or one thing on TV.
One thing on TV.
I'm going to say the Mosconi Cup because I need to study the European team, see what's really going on.
Okay.
There you go. Good answer.
That's fair.
I'm sure Emily and Matchroom love that one too. You could bop over to Matchroom Pool, and I think you can watch like all the matches right now over there. So, all right. So, question number 3, Steve. This is one of my favorite questions. Give it to him.
When you go to the grocery store during quarantine, what is the first thing you grab? It doesn't have to be.
What do you got to have? What do you got to have?
Beer.
Beer?
Beer. Okay.
Is beer
Any
vegan?
particular beer?
Yeah, I hope so. I'm drinking it. If not,
I don't think they put a lot of meat in beer,
Cool.
Steve. I don't
Well,
think there's a lot
it's
of
more,
meat
but
going into
vegan's
beer.
more than just vegetarian. You can't like eat
That's
animal
true.
byproducts. It's
Somebody-
like a whole deal, man.
That's true. That's true.
somebody Google Corona. and
Yeah,
see if
somebody
that's
in
vegan.
chat help us out.
Jesus.
Now, what kind of beer is Box Office Boys drinking? Any kind? Heineken? What are we drinking?
Corona, listen to this
Coors
guy.
Light, vegan.
Coors Light. You're going with the American
Silver
beer,
Bullet,
huh?
huh?
Coors Light.
Yeah, I like that. That's nice.
That's
Oh,
that
Karl,
man.
we gotta hang out next time you come to the States because I'm a Coors Light guy myself. So,
Yeah.
all right.
definitely.
Final question before we let Karl get to bed or try to qualify for another darts tournament. What's question number 4, Steve?
Question number 4: if you had to quarantine with a teammate from one of the 4 Mosconi teams you've been a part of, who would it be and why?
Oh, this is a big one.
It's a good one.
Does Emily count as Team Europe? I'll quarantine with her. Have some fun. I'm a little bit bored in quarantine. Emily, let's shack up. Some fun.
You might have just got your Vice pink slip in the
That's
mail.
what's
It's probably it's on its way via email. I think you might have just let's stick with the team, the guys
players,
that
sorry,
pick up
right,
a cue
sorry.
on the
I thought
team.
you said European. Sorry, not team.
She's impartial. She's impartial, right?
I'm going to say Nikos because I've been to Greece playing. Probably played 5 or 6 times out there, and listen, he can drink. I mean, he's an animal. So I think quarantine.
Say the
with
name
Nikos,
again. Say the name again.
Nikos
What's the name?
Economopoulos.
Okay, I can't even say that name. Nikos
Nikos Economopoulos, but he can drink with the best of them. So
Okay.
listen, I'm not a big drinker, but I just think in lockdown, in this quarantine, we'd give Panazzo a run for his money with his cocktail book.
So Karl Boyd's answer: if it can't be Emily from Matchroom, he's picking a guy from Greece who
So
can
he
drink
can
him
get
under the table. So he can drink him under the table. There you go, folks.
There you go. We'll have some
There's
fun.
the straight dirt from across the pond from my man Karl Boys. Karl, we appreciate you joining us, buddy. It's been fun, and we appreciate you staying up late too. And I know that's not lost on us. So we wish you guys the best, you and the family. Stay safe,
cheers,
stay
bro.
well, and I hope we're getting together sooner than later, my man. But until then, thanks for joining us, and for our folks tuning in, be sure to join us next week here on the Billiards Spotlight, 7 p.m. Central. We will be back. We got a very special guest next week that we'll announce probably around Monday, right, Steve? About Monday, we'll talk about
something
that.
like that. Maybe a surprise in that one. We're not going to say nothing about it.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit different next week. We got something a little bit different for you folks. So anyway, for now, we're signing off on behalf of Steve, Karl Boys, and I. Thanks for tuning in, folks, and we will see you again next time on the Billiards Spotlight.